This week on the $1 Million Plan, we welcome Serena to the program. She's 29, got a lot of different financial goals that we're trying to accomplish. I'm excited to hear about them. Hello, Serena. How are you?
Good. How are you?
What's it like to be 29? It's been a while for me.
Not much different from 28.
Yeah, you know what? Turns out that's pretty much how it is. Although at 40, which I'm almost there, I hear stuff starts to break. So you're still pretty good at 29. Things work, right?
For the most part.
Good. All right. So what are we doing for you today? What are we working on financially for you today?
Well, I'm working full time. Been married a few years. Still would like some advice on how to talk about money with my spouse.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm more of the spender. Backwards. I'm more the saver, and he's a spender. And so we have a lot of different goals that we're trying to find money for.
Excellent. All right. Can I ask you a million questions? All right. So let's get after it. So here are my questions. So you're 29. How old is he?
He just turned 31.
Just turned 31. Older man. We had an older man alert. And what is your household income? How much do you guys make?
Gross annually, it's something. I just got pretty much a promotion, so it's $92,000.
Okay, $92,000 as a household, and then how much of that is yours versus his?
So my annual income is now $39,000, and his is the rest.
Okay. I'm doing the math on that. I don't know. What is that? 40? No one knows. Okay, so he makes more than you do.
Yes,
does that ever come into play with, we won't call them money disagreements, but if you're trying to get on the same page, then there's a hair of conflict. Does the wage gap ever come into play when you discuss money?
It did earlier in our relationship. I had gone back to school and was unemployed. And so when it was just his income, we still ended up paying more for his car payments and his student loans than mine. And now that we're both working, it's not as much of an issue.
Right. So, but it looks like, or it doesn't look like anything. But what it sounds like is that possibly spending more on things for him occurs as opposed to how much you spend on things for you.
Nowadays, we have our budget, and then we have some left over, and that's where the issues are.
Okay, so what happens with that leftover? First of all, how much is left over?
For example, last month we had about $750 left over to figure out what to do with.
Okay.
And so I want to save for retirement and pay off our student loans, and we're also saving to get a car.
Okay. So three great goals, by the way. 3 very good goals.
Yes. So what ended up with that was we went 100 towards retirement, 150 towards student loans, and then 500 towards the car, because the car that we have is getting to be less reliable than we'd like.
Okay, so all 750 though went towards good things, correct?
Yes.
Okay, but so was there a problem with that, or was there a struggle to get to that point?
Well, I'd like to put more towards student loans than the car.
Okay.
And so there was some back and forth, and I was going to do 50 towards retirement, but there was a minimum of 100.
Sure.
So we ended up sacrificing, instead of 200, we put 150 towards student loans,
and then,
in addition to our minimum payments.
Let's take a look at the loan amounts that you have right now. How much do you have in student loans?
About $60,000 right now.
Okay.
We're about equal, $30,000 on that.
And so he's been out of school about 10 years or so, 9 years, and have you been out 7?
Well, I got a second degree, so I've been out 3 years.
And then to what is the goal to pay them off in 10 years? Is your repayment plan longer than 10 years? What's that look like?
That's another one of the issues. Like, I want to pay mine off sooner, and he's okay not paying his off sooner.
So what would be the alternative? Obviously, the alternative to not sooner is later. But what would he rather do with the money that wouldn't go towards paying off sooner? Is it more of a lifestyle decision? He'd rather expand the lifestyle a little bit.
yeah, I think so, because he wants to spend more for the car than the student loans.
So with a $92,000, $93,000 household income, I'm curious as to what kind of car are you all looking at for him?
Let's see. Never actually bought a car myself.
Okay, no, that's all right.
Because I've lived in cities where there's public transportation. So it's, I guess, a compact car that's reliable, has good fuel efficiency.
How much do you think you'll spend on it?
Maybe about $10,000.
So $10,000 total, but you're trying to save for a down payment, or are you trying to save to fund it all together?
Or we're trying to save for a down payment because we think we're going to need one before we can afford the total.
Sure. And so then $750 a month, I mean, is generally what you have to play with at the end of the month for student loans, retirement, and whatever the funding goal needs to be?
Yes.
So I guess the goal would then make sure that of that $750 that the car payment isn't too much of it, that enough can go towards retirement and paying down student loans. So do you prioritize whose student loans get paid down first, or are you equally responsible for paying your own student loans based on your income?
We've been prioritizing. We did some of his, and then we're looking at right now we're doing the one with the highest interest rate.
Okay. And then how do you all bank? Do you have one checking account, several different accounts? What's that look like?
That's starting to get complicated.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Yeah, we have a joint checking account.
Okay.
We each have our personal checking accounts. We have multiple savings in different banks, and we have a couple credit cards from different banks.
Okay, now, from what I understand, there's not much of a balance on credit cards? They're zero balance, or do you have some balances?
We pay that off every month.
Okay. So that does sound complicated, though, because there's a lot of different accounts happening.
Yes.
So are you like quick paying each other different amounts to split like rent and those sorts of things, or how does that work?
For our joint account, that's where rent and household expenses come. And then we divide, we have part of our monthly, biweekly paychecks automatically sent to our personal account.
Okay.
And so for our like discretionary fund money, we have the same amount to each of us for that.
How much do you have in savings?
For savings, the multiple accounts that we have, there's about $500 for short term that we use as things come up for Christmas, birthdays, dental, insurance, and then $1,000 for an emergency fund, and over $2,000 for our car down payment.
Okay. I see. So the numbers you sent us, you have $45,000 set aside for retirement. And is this right? You guys are putting just over $1,100 a month towards retirement investments?
It's automatically deducted.
Okay.
So it's something about the way we don't have a 401k. We work for educational institutes with the 403b
Sure.
pension thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about 10% automatically goes into there.
Well, as it stands now, based on the pace of what you're doing, with $45,000 in your accounts, $1,180 a month going towards the future, your $1 million day is December 7th, 2047. So on December 7th, 2047, if you don't change a thing, if you keep doing exactly what you're doing, even if your income goes up, but you're paying the exact same dollar amount than you are now, your $1 million day, worst case scenario, would be December 7th, 2047. And at your age 67, which is what we consider to be full retirement age these days, you would have roughly $1.4 million, $3,400 a month of income, which you're at $4,400 a month now. But because of inflation, that $3,400 a month would actually feel like $1,300 a month, which brings the question back to you, Serena. Do you think that you guys can survive from your investments, at least, on $1,300 a month?
Hmm. I think that depends if we own a house by then.
Okay, so
Currently, we rent.
okay, so you're renting, which you're paying just over $900 or so a month in rent. And by eliminating that expense, of course, then you eliminate the need for the income to cover that expense. So that's good. You live here in the U.S., so you're an educator? Is he an educator as well?
No, I just my title is now research accountant, and he's a computer science software engineer.
Oh, okay. So when it comes to Social Security, you're both paying into Social Security. Will either of you have a pension? So the idea that you'll stop working and you'll keep getting paid, or not?
Yes, we should have a pension based on years worked and ending salary.
Okay.
So the amount that we had for the retirement account, that's, I think that they show us our contribution, and it might not show the employers yet.
Okay. Okay. So that sounds to me like a defined contribution plan as opposed to a defined benefit plan. This is not meant to make things weird. It's just to say you don't have what is considered to be a traditional pension. Sometimes they use the word pension, but it's a defined contribution plan, which is all to say you'll have Social Security, each of you. You'll have about, at this pace, $1,300 a month inflation adjusted of income. So I would say this. I know we're talking about other goals. We're talking about getting along from a financial perspective now, but I would make the assertion that the retirement is not properly funded yet. So when you say something like, I would have liked to put a little more towards retirement than the down payment of the car, you're actually right, right? Because the more you put towards retirement now, the easier this is because time allows your money to compound. Whereas if you waited to save more for retirement, then you don't get as much compounding effect. So help me understand again. Are you pushing for pay down student loans faster? Are you saving, or are you pushing for save for retirement more aggressively? And it sounds like no matter what, he's saving or pushing for saving for the car down payment more aggressively.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to figure out. So, like, I both want to pay off student loans so we can free up that income and put more towards retirement. But if it makes sense to do more towards retirement now, I'm not sure.
Well, here's what it will require.
Where to go with it.
Yeah, no, I think you can, by all means, continue to pay down the loans for two particular reasons. Number one, as your income increases, as it probably will, are you both in a field which you think your income will consistently increase?
Yes.
If that's the case, then those deposits towards your $1 million day and towards retirement will increase. So that $1,300 a month inflation adjusted number I gave you, while it is accurate as we sit here, the second your income goes up and a higher dollar amount of money goes into your investments, then that number goes up. So that's good news. The second thing is, once you pay off your student loans, then if you're able to then transition any of the money that you were paying towards your student loans towards the future, then in that case, then you're funding your future more aggressively, and you'll have a higher dollar amount there too. I guess the big question comes down to, at the current pace, when do you think your student loans will be paid off? I got to think it's your late 30s to early 40s, right?
That's what I'm hoping for.
Do you happen to have any children in the household, or just the two of you?
It's just the two of us.
Okay. And then I know with housing, you brought up the idea of eventually you'd like to own your home, but you're currently renting. Is there any thought as to when home ownership becomes a serious goal of yours?
Probably not for at least another 5 years.
Okay. So that's good. So you don't feel any pressure to become a homeowner right now?
No.
I don't think you should, by the way. Just to be very clear, I think in people in your situation where it gets mucked up, and that is mucked with an M, is it gets mucked up when you all of a sudden want to do everything at once. You want to get a new house, you want to get a new car, you want to pay off student loans, you want to save aggressively for retirement, and you can't do it all of it. And so none of it is actually done very well. So I think acquiring this new car for him is a good thing. Do you also have a car, or you said you come from a place of public transportation, or are you currently still using public transportation?
We now live in a small town, and the car is shared.
Okay.
And since we live in a small town and without much public transportation, we pretty much need it.
Is there a scenario in which you would have to get yet another car for the household anytime soon?
That's unlikely. As it is, I could walk to work, but he lives. Our house is a little further from his work, so
okay.
I don't see us needing a second car.
So that's good. So really, sometimes there are these sneaky financial obligations that pop up, like, then we'll need a second car. For you guys, it truly is as simple as once his car is acquired, you'll be making the payments on him, whatever they are, but the remainder of the $750 a month of surplus is getting divvied up between paying off the student loans and retirement. Let's think about this. What do you think his car payment's going to be? Have you guys done the math on that yet?
Maybe $250, $300.
Okay.
Something like that.
Let's call it $300, which then would give you $450 a month to pay towards student loans. Essentially, what was that? $5,000 a year towards student loans. Actually, I need to ask a question. That extra money that you're paying of that $750 towards student loans, is that on top of the normal student loan payment?
Yes.
And how much are you paying on that portion of the student loan payment?
For my minimum payment for my student loans is $400, and for his is $350. But he has his set up that it'll increase as his income increases. So
$750 there plus the $450. What was that? $1,300 a month, which is about $15,000 a year. If you go hard at this, it's conceivable that you're out of student loan debt in 4 or 5 years. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this gets to the heart of the issue here. You would be more susceptible to want to do that, and he would feel less strongly about being aggressive paying down those student loans, right?
Yes.
Oh, man. You know what? Here's what I think. I think that you go aggressively at paying off the student loans, and upon the conclusion of paying those off in 4 or 5 years, it may be the time to start to look at home ownership. And this all starts to match up pretty well. Because if you try to get into home ownership when you still have 5 or 6 years left on those student loans because you didn't pay them aggressively, that's going to be kind of a pain in the neck. And it's going to shrink how much home you can buy. And I think it can shift your need for money long term.
Yes, these are my feelings. And how do I communicate that to my spouse?
Well, I mean, there is this idea that you could navigate to a particular Ginger's podcast and just hit play. And to be like, listen to this. It's like, you just listen to this, pal. Here's the...
Pizza Platter says I'm right.
And then you hear one of the most common phrases across America is, who the hell's Pete the Planner and what does he know? Right? I get that a lot. Right? That's the spouse reaction to me exposing myself. Me exposing myself is not the phrase I wanted to use there. That sounded like completely different as to what is happening. Anyway, I think you're right. I think that you make the car payment $300, you take the extra $450. Retirement is going to begin to solve itself as you earn more money. A higher dollar amount will go into retirement savings. And then once the student loan's gone, it's not like you're going to take that huge amount, that $1,300 a month, and all go towards housing. Then you can significantly increase what you put toward retirement as well. I think it's close to a no-brainer. I'm not going to call it a no-brainer, but I'm going to call it close to a no-brainer. I think you should make a 4 to 5 year aggressive run of getting out of student loan debt.
Okay.
What is your stress level financially right now?
It's, I don't know, moderate, higher than what it seems that my husband has.
Sure. So, do you attribute that to his higher income? Do you attribute that to just his personality in general? Do you attribute that to even complacency as it relates to finances? Maybe this is the part where you hit pause and you don't let him listen to this answer.
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of things. Like, before we got married, he didn't have savings, but he had thousands of dollars of silicone masks.
Pardon me, wait, stand by. Hold on, time out. Did you guys, these ear sets, these headphones that I have, did you say silicone masks?
Yeah, like Halloween masks that are high quality and very realistic.
He has thousands of dollars worth of silicone masks.
Yes, so that's him.
Okay, that's what he likes to do. What does he do with them?
He enters Halloween costume competitions. He got rid of most of them.
Okay.
But me, on the other hand, I had like a teacher salary, and I was able to save money when I was in school. So there were a couple times that I had to live off of my savings. So that's a bit of a difference between us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and we won't go too deep into this, but I always think it's interesting. It's important, by the way, that you and your significant other are raised by different people. I mean, I think that's the whole point of, we want to be raised by different people, physically raised by different people. Otherwise, it's a kind of a weird marriage. How much of how he is with money is a reflection of how he grew up, do you think? And vice versa, and you too.
It's weird because I feel like we both came from low-income families, but he likes to splurge more, and I still like to save more. So
Yeah.
it's weird that we have that difference.
That's interesting. Sometimes if you don't ever have a lot of disposable income, like we're talking about, by paying off all that debt, you'd have $1,300 a month to do whatever you want with it. And that is both terrifying for someone that does not have their discretionary spending under control, but it can also be pretty freeing to know, oh man, that's a pretty good goal to get to, that we could have $1,300 a month to do whatever we want with it. We could spend half, we could save half. And I think maybe that's how you motivate him. Because right now, if he's going to spend extra or still has that tendency to want to spend and not prepare for the future, he's splitting a couple $100, not $1,300. And I think you could sort of use that as a carrot to dangle in front of him.
That sounds good.
All right. Any questions? Any other questions I can answer for you?
You've been pretty helpful. I can't think of anything else right now.
My goal in life is to be pretty helpful. Like, I never want to be all the way helpful. I want to be pretty helpful. So I'm glad. And so now I cannot get the image out of my head of a room in your house dedicated to latex masks. Like, I can't shake that. But I'll get over it. All right, so thank you so much, Serena. We wish you the best of luck. Please give us an update. Email us back when he says, who the hell is Pete the Planner? What does he know? We want to make sure that that's what he says, because that's what everyone always says. And we wish you the best of luck.
Okay, thanks.
That's it this week on the $1 Million Plan. Latex masks. That's awesome. I'm not cool enough to have any hobbies. Like, I have no hobbies. Wonder if he's got like Wesley Snipes, or like if it's like famous people's mask, or if it's just like a guy with a foot out of his head. How badly do you want to Google high-end latex masks right now? I know I do, and that's what I'm going to do. So we're leaving each other right now. That's it for this week. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time here on the $1 Million Plan.
This is where I came from. Planet Lovetron, where we drop love bombs, funk missiles, and live in soul shelters. No helter-skelter. The heat don't swelter because everybody stays cool. Left many moons ago to bring the philosophies of my ancestors to another place, God. Picked the third rock, gave me to my earth family, and told me to create, and so I am. Pen in my hand, microphone on the stand, over vinyl I command. command and demand. Magnificence in an instance, I can make you dance, cry, or love. Fly as a dove, released from Everest. The fresh is fresh, and you can call me E.T. Word to John Tesh. Let me bless this harmonic presentation. It's amazing, so amazing. I'm the reason. Salutations, I bring you love, trying greetings from a faraway land. I am the soul controller. Put the remote down and let me take control. You're now a part of my zone, so enjoy yourself. Love Tron can restore your health. I bring you greetings, salutations. How you doing? And is that how y'all say it? The tinkling of the keys is an homage to the little star. I sojourn over poetic descriptions of sound and travel to my other world. Out of this world, spaceship on my arm took me home, fueled by the ink and the megabytes and the hypertext transfer protocol, stronger than the Skynet and the Terminator. I push faders into warp speed, glide with ease, creating a breeze they call a black hole. Event horizon, no rear view concerns. This I adjourn, and beats I burn. This I adjourn, and beats I burn. Salutations, I bring you love, trying greetings from a faraway land. I am the soul controller. Put the remote down and let me take control. You're now a part of my zone, so enjoy yourself. Love Tron can restore your health. I bring you greetings, salutations. How you doing? And is that how y'all say it?